Let me ask you something. And I want you to really sit with this question. How many times have you stood in the pharmacy aisle, reading labels, switching products, trying to figure out what's safe enough to put on your child's skin and thought, why is this still happening? How many elimination diets? How many allergy tests? How many rounds of that steroid cream telling yourself that it's just temporary just to get through the flare and then watching it come back again 2 weeks later? Now, if that's you, you're not failing your child. And I need you to hear that clearly. You're not failing. You're just working on the wrong layer. And nobody told you that there was a deeper one. My name is Dr. John Caruso with Haven Family Chiropractic. And in this video, I want to walk you through something that most pediatricians and even the most functional medicine practitioners aren't trained to talk about. The layer beneath the skin, the layer beneath the gut, the layer where your child's eczema is actually being driven from. So stay with me because this is the information that finally makes everything else make sense. And here's how I explain it to our families in the office. When it comes to eczema, most parents move through 3 layers of healing, usually in that exact order, without even knowing that these layers exist. So the first is the external environment, fragrance-free detergents, organic cotton, gentle soaps, no harsh chemicals. Every parent dealing with eczema has done this, and you should because it matters. But here's the hard truth. If clean inputs alone solved eczema, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And for most kids, layer one only gets them part of the way, and then it stops. Layer two is the gut, the diet, the immune system. Dairy and gluten out, processed fruit out, probiotics and digestive enzymes in, omega 3s, food sensitivity panels. This is where most families spend years, and it helps partially. But so many parents end up with a cabinet full of supplements and a child still flaring, still itchy, and still miserable. And yet they don't understand why. But here's why. Because layer two cannot function properly without layer three. And most people never hear or even reach layer three. Now, layer three is the nervous system, specifically the autonomic nervous system, the branch that runs every system in your child's body on autopilot, the gas pedal and the brake pedal, the fight or flight and rest and digest side of the nervous system. Because when your child's nervous system gets stuck on the gas pedal, everything downstream starts breaking down, including the gut, the immunity, and their skin. So let's make this concrete. The vagus nerve is the main nerve of our parasympathetic system, the brake pedal side of things. It travels from the brainstem through the neck all the way into the abdomen, and it controls 4 critical functions for digestion: motility, absorption, assimilation, and elimination, in that order. And when the vagus nerve's quiet, when it's suppressed by a nervous system stuck in stress mode, gut motility slows down. Food doesn't move the way it's supposed to. Nutrients don't absorb, and waste doesn't eliminate efficiently. And here's what that means for eczema. The body still has to get waste out somehow. So it uses the largest organ in the body as a backup route, the skin. So that red, itchy, scaly, inflamed skin, that's not just a barrier problem, that's the body trying to eliminate through the surface because the internal elimination pathways are backed up. You see, the vagus nerve also controls inflammation directly through what's called the cholinergic anti-inflammatory pathway. And when vagal tone is low, the off switch for inflammation is stuck in the open position. You see, your child's immune system then stays in overdrive. The Th2 response, the one that drives atopic dermatitis, runs unchecked. There's no cream that stops that from the outside in. We gotta restore the signal from the inside out. So now you might be wondering, how does a child's brain and nervous system get stuck in fight or flight mode in the first place? So this is where we bring in something called the perfect storm. It starts before birth. Prenatal stress. Mom carrying high cortisol through pregnancy actually alters how the baby's nervous system wires in utero. Babies can come into the world already in sympathetic dominance, already stuck on that gas pedal. And then comes birth. The vagus nerve actually exits from the skull, right at where the upper neck or the top part of the neck lives. And during delivery, especially with interventions like forceps, vacuums, C-sections, inductions, or even fast or prolonged labor, that region absorbs a significant amount of mechanical stress, enough to create what we call subluxation, the physical stress and tension or the restricted motion of the joint space. That signal then gets disrupted at the source. And then this comes the early childhood stuff. the antibiotics that wipe out the microbiome, environmental toxins and processed foods that stack inflammatory load, the ear infections, the illness cycles, formula feeding, all of that compounds the pattern. And by age 2 or 3, what started at birth has become a chronically dysregulated nervous system. And eczema is one of the ways that shows up on the surface. But it's never the only thing. These kids almost always have something else going on too: constipation and disrupted sleep, behavioral dysregulation, sensory sensitivities. Now, these are all different symptoms, but they share the same root. And this is where Haven Family Chiropractic is different from everything else that you've tried thus far. We don't guess. We actually measure the nervous system using the insight scanning technology. We take a neurological snapshot, if you will, of your child's autonomic nervous system. And there's three components. Heart rate variability measures autonomic balance and adaptability. Surface EMG measures neuromuscular tension patterns that indicate where the nervous system is under load. And then the thermal scan maps the automatic autonomic function along the neurospinal pathways, showing us exactly where dysregulation is occurring and how severe it is. You see, scans aren't a treatment, they're a map. They show us specific patterns that correlate with gut function, with immune dysregulation, and the sympathetic dominance driving your child's eczema. And they let us build a care plan that's precise and not generic. So, this is what the healing sequence typically looks like when we restore nervous function from the top down. Sleep usually shifts first. Kids start sleeping more deeply within the first few weeks. Then digestion. Bowel movements become more regular. Reflux quiets. Food tolerances start to widen. And then the immune in the skin changes. Fewer flares and less inflammation and calmer reactivity. And then the behavioral and emotional regulation, and eventually the developmental gains. Now, it's not marketing by any means. That's how the nervous system rebuilds. Foundation first. And when it does, everything else that you've been doing starts working better. The absorption, or the supplements absorb, the diet changes whole, the skin clears and stays clear. And this is what we call the multiplier effect, because the nervous system isn't one piece of the puzzle, it's the frame that the whole puzzle sits on. So if your child's been stuck in the eczema cycle and you feel like you've tried everything, I want to invite you to try the one thing that most families have never been offered. It's the neurological assessment, a real look at understanding what's happening underneath. And at Haven Family Chiropractic, right here in Katy, Texas, we're ready to sit down with you and your family, review your child's full history, and then run the insight scans and give you the answers that actually make sense. Not another cream, not another elimination protocol, real answers from the root. So check the link within our bio, send our office a DM with the word eczema, or call our office directly to get started. Your child's skin is telling you something, so let's finally listen to what it's actually saying.